demo of the competition image so that you get an idea of what needs to be done. Most likely on Sunday, uh, we should try and do an in-person meeting on the 19th. On the 8th, for the 15th and 18th, again, both will be virtual training rounds. So I'll send out a little bit more detail once closer to the event. Though be ready that the Saturday meeting may be instead of 10 o'clock, it might be later in the evening, probably late. It could be something like 7 p.m. to 9 p.m. But we will discuss that when we come to that point. So that being said, today what I want to do is I want to talk about the Windows operating system, and I want to make this a conversation. Everyone has worked on a Windows computer by now, correct? So I'm going to share my desktop, and you folks will have to tell me some of the things that I'm going to ask you a few questions and tell me if you're familiar with what the terminology is. So I'm going to share my entire desktop. So this is my personal computer. This is my personal desktop, and I wanted to ask you questions about certain parts of my screen. Um, to start with, what do we call the background? What do we call this entire background that you see? Anybody? Nobody's going to volunteer answers. We're going to sit here for a long time. Are you cadets able to hear me? Yeah, so I'm asking you a question as to what do you call the background of my screen? What is the term for the so
Uh,
what is the answer to that question? What is the background?
sir, the background is called the desktop background.
Desktop background, you could also call it a wallpaper. I
Yeah,
call the entire screen as my desktop. And what do you call these individual whatever these things are?
icons.
Icons, yes. Um, the icons are essentially they can be complete files. Like for example, this particular icon represents a PDF file. The icons can be shortcuts. If you see a small arrow, as you can see on the screen, they are called shortcut icons. They can also be icons. I can even have applications directly copied onto the desktop if they are standalone applications. But essentially, the desktop is where I start all my work with. But the desktop is basically a graphical user interface. It is a GUI. Underneath the desktop, the desktop is basically your graphical gateway to the underlying bones of the computer, which we are talking about the file system, we are talking about folders, we are talking about applications, etc. Uh, we have already gone through the concept of disk drives and my computer icon, right? So typically, the bottom portion where you see this gray bar, it is called the taskbar. The taskbar, and within the taskbar, you will see a Windows icon, which is like the logo for the Windows operating system. We call this the start button. So be familiar with the terminology. So this is the Windows taskbar, and this is the start button. And on the right side, you will see a bunch of small icons and the clock and the date. We refer to this as sometimes the system tray. The system tray is where uses some of the critical icons that are there. You could also click, figure out the date, work a few things based on the on what you see on the bottom right. A lot of times you can control the computer's subsystems by looking at the icons here. For example, I have an icon for a mic. I have an icon for my Wi-Fi connection, and I have a small icon for sound system. If I click any of this, I'll be able to control certain things. I can even jump to try and figure out what my Wi-Fi connection settings are, maybe my Bluetooth settings. So there's a lot of things that I can control from the system tray on the bottom right of the taskbar. Now along the taskbar, I have the start button, which is here. If you click that, you get an entire uh, uh, what to call a window, a menu from which you can do certain operations. I do have a search function. Now whether I have Windows, an older version of Windows, whether it is Windows 8 or a Windows 7 or the Windows 11, the principles are the same. You have a desktop, you have a taskbar, you have a system tray, you have a start button, you have a search box where you can search things. Then also on the taskbar, I do have uh, what I call the taskbar icons. Now these are a set of my favorite programs that I have pinned to the taskbar. For example, this particular icon here is the Epson scan. It is if I click that, my scanner program fires up. So I just clicked it. Let's see if the program should be coming anytime soon. There you go. And it is coming. And this is my scanner program. So I am going to close this and exit out of the program. And every program that I launch, for example, this is an FTP application. Uh, every program that I launch will have the usual controls. It will have a menu. It will have the window management icons on the top right. So X is basically exit the program. The large box maximizes the program. Clicking that again will sort of make it a sub window, and the dash minimizes it and parks that program on somewhere else. So I can always go back to any program by clicking around. Now the other concept I want to talk to you about is every Windows computer will always have what we call a file explorer, and we spoke about the file explorer last time. Now, as I'm going through this, feel free to experiment on your own computer, navigate around, check things out. So if I click my file explorer, I may see a whole bunch of things, but the key icon that I should try and find out is try and find this particular icon called this PC. Usually when you click that, you will know all the different drives that are attached and the status of the drives. For example, I have a C drive, D drive, I have a DVD drive called E, then I have a whole bunch of external drives that are hooked up to this particular computer. What is what is the free space, what is the disk space, what is the free space. I can explore what is there. Now, as I said, the computer is this PC icon sort of represents the hardware for your computer, and within that you have drives C and D. You can always expand the drives on the left side, and every drive has folders specific for certain functions. Uh, Typically for Windows users, all your user data will be under a folder called users. So in C drive is basically one of the drives. Uh, I can click users and I will see who are the users that are there. Let me just admit Shane to the meeting. Is he already on? Give me once. All right. So Within the users, I can go and see who are the different users on this particular computer. I only have one user with the username Jagan, which is actually one of my nicknames. So if I click that particular user folder, I can again look at different subfolders again. The the key things to remember is when I go into this, there is a folder called downloads in which all my downloaded files can be found. Sometimes you will also be able to see a desktop folder which I'm not seeing here, but we'll come to that point. Like Dropbox is another app that I've saved. So for public default, okay. So in a user folder called default, you will see the desktop folder, which essentially every user will have their own specific desktop folder where you can look at their favorites and their stored files, as well as a document folder. So tomorrow, if uh, I give you a task of saying explore your home computer, give me a list of users on your computer. This is one way to find out. You could go to C drive, go to the users folder, and look at all the subfolders that are part of your system. But the ideal way to figure out how a computer works is there is something called a control panel within the Windows operating system. We'll go more in detail to about the control panel at some point. But again, right? Essentially, if I go to File Manager, the File Explorer, I can jump to this PC, navigate between the different drives. Most of my data files I store in D drive, for example, D drive Cyber Patriot. I have stored the images, the demo, and some of the PowerPoint files. Uh, so I will go. I'm going to stop here and ask this question. Uh, Among the cadets who have seen this, how familiar are you with this simple explanation that I have given about the desktop, about the folders, or is there something completely new to you? Anybody would like to share their thoughts? So I'm going to randomly pick on people. Um, Cadet Brugman says mostly new to new. I mean, he's whatever we covered is new to him. Cadet Bunting, are you able to answer this question about how familiar you have been with Windows? Did anything that I have covered till now, is it something that you already knew or is it something new? Okay, so I expect that I will expect that you are somewhat familiar to this. Uh, Kirat Chang says he will have to get his Windows laptop, which is good. But at the same time, in the process, you will as we go through a couple of the presentations, you will learn a lot of new things as we go through it. But the basic fundamental thing that we need to know is we need to learn that our physical computer has different drives, or it may have one physical hard drive, but there could be within the system you will see what we call either a physical drive or a logical drive. So in this case, my PC has all these drives, and within each particular drive, you will see folders and subfolders, and there will be files, there will be applications, etc. And you have to be very familiar navigating between these drives and these folders. Now, there is another way that I can go and look at these folders and contents without actually looking at the file explorer. Anybody know how can I do that? Is there a way that I can navigate between different drives, explore subfolders, and try and look at files without opening the file explorer? Is anyone aware of that in an alternate way of doing things? How many of you have heard of the term command line, command line interface? Show of hands. Sheng has heard about it. What about the others? Mitra, you are still on the call?
Yes, sir. I'm here. I'm in the car, thus I don't have any I can't raise my hand or any interactions, but I'm here.
No, in the sense, have you heard about the term command line interface?
Yes, sir.
And have you ever used that to navigate between folders and look at the contents within a specific folder?
Yes, sir. I've used those in order to navigate to a specific. I just use Windows R, Windows Shift R, and I can use set pull down.
Okay. And Jared Brugman, I'm assuming this concept of command line is new to you. And Sheng, you have a question, or you're just saying that you worked on command line interface?
I've done it.
Yeah. Again, very quick demo what a command line interface is. If I go to the search button and type CMD, or I can type the entire word, command. You'll see something called command prompt come up. I can either click it or I can just type CMD and hit enter. What it does is it brings up a black screen with letters and this is what we call a prompt. Shane, you have a question or a comment? You have a
Hasn't Microsoft used PowerShell?
Microsoft uses PowerShell. There is a PowerShell command as well, command prompt as well. But for the purpose of this demo, I am just using the simple command prompt.
Okay,
So
thank
as I said, yeah.
PowerShell is mostly used in also VS Code, but I'm pretty sure in CyberPatron they use prompt.
Yeah. So a simple example is when I type up command, this black screen with this cursor comes up. We call this a prompt, command prompt, and essentially what you can do here is you can do certain operations the same way you're using a graphical user interface. I can type commands here and figure out contents of a particular folder. Now you guys may have recalled that in my computer I have shown there was a C drive, there was a D drive, there were other drives, right? So if I have to jump to let's say there is to a drive D delta, all I have to do is type D and call what we call the color, the two vertical dots. When I type that, it will take me to D drive by command line. So I was in C drive, and I will talk about this. Essentially, this is the directory structure. C drive, the directory name, folder name, users, and subfolder Jayden. Now in D drive, there is a set of commands I can use to explore the contents of this particular drive. So I can type dir, which is basically short form for directory, and it will give me a list of folders that I can explore. So I'm interested in this particular folder called Cyber Patriot. And there's other details like, hey, this is the date that this folder was created, or this folder was last modified, and it will tell you whether it is a file or a directory. So if I want to go into Cyber Patriot, there is a command called change directory. The short form is CD, and I can type Cyber Patriot. I say CD Cyber Patriot, and it takes me into that folder Cyber Patriot. Again, I can search by typing dir, and it tells me there are four subfolders: CP18, Server 2019, blah 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 blah. There is a demo folder, and there is also a PowerPoint presentation file within this particular folder. I could go into more subfolders. Like now I am Cyber Patriot in demo, and again look at the contents. So command line is basically one way of carrying out the same operations that you carry out through the graphical user interface. But again, you don't have to worry too much about it. But in case you are trying to experiment, there's a whole bunch of Windows commands that you can use to list files, to copy files, to delete files. There is also an easy way of looking at help. If I type dir/? It will tell me all the flags and switches I can use for that command. Or if I say there's a command called copy. If I say copy /? It will tell me all the options, flags. I can invoke the help essentially for that particular command. So this is all towards advanced usage of Windows. For the purpose of the basic level usage of Windows, you can do everything through your Windows graphical user interface. Now, just like your phone, Windows will have a bunch of files and it will also have a bunch of apps, but we use the full form for the word apps. We call them applications or programs. So in this case, my computer has several programs. There is VM Workstation, Google Chrome is a program. I have something called VLC Media Player, Video Editor. These are all individual programs that are stored on my particular computer, and I have these shortcut icons that are there on my desktop that point to the actual location of where those particular programs are. Now, question to people who have been using Windows a lot, I have this program called VideoPad Video Editor. Now, what I have here is just a shortcut icon. It is not the actual program. How do I know where the actual program is stored on my computer? Anyone know how to do that? How I can find out where exactly the actual program is stored on my computer? Now, this is essentially as I mentioned, is a shortcut. What I can do is I can click the icon, right click it, and look at properties. Every icon or file, whether it's an application or a data file or a program, you can always right click and check the properties. And based on the type of the file, I will get certain details. For example, in this, when I looked at the properties, there are several subtabs. One of the subtabs is something called a shortcut. And in the shortcut, I see a target. And if I look at the target, it actually gives me the folder and the subfolder where this particular VideoPad program is stored. So it is actually stored in C drive under Program Files x86, in which there is a subfolder called NCH Software, in which the VideoPad, there is another subfolder called VideoPad, and finally the VideoPad.exe, which is the actual program executable. So this is how you find out where exactly a program is stored. Now, somebody tells me, hey, Venkat, you are not supposed to have this video editor program on your computer, and I need to remove this particular program. If I select this icon and press delete, it will be gone. But that doesn't delete the actual program on my computer. My program is hidden in C program files, NCH software, under VideoPad, under video and VideoPad.exe. That is where all the programs are. So if you are given a task saying remove this particular program, you cannot remove it by deleting the icons on your desktop. And there is actually a method of removing the program for the computer. I will go into the detail more. But for the purpose of this exercise, as I said, I can, I have taken the location of where this program is, and the program is in this particular location. See program files, NCS software, VideoPad, VideoPad.exe. Let's try and go find this particular program through the actual folder. So I go to my file explorer. Now I can go search for this PC, and under this PC I can go search for C drive. Another way of finding out is I can just go on the address bar and type C : and it will take me directly to C drive. If I had to jump to say H drive, I can do that. So for the purpose of trying to locate where this program is, I will go to C drive. Now I put the path over here in C drive. I have to go look for program files x386. So I go there. The next folder to look for is NCH software. NCH software. I find the software program here. And again, there are 4 different subfolders. Then again, okay, this is in video pad. I'll go to video pad, and now I see the video pad.exe and some other files within that. Now this is where the actual video editing software is located on my computer. Now my boss tells me I have to remove this program from my computer. How do I do that? Have any one of you removed a particular program from your computer, from a Windows computer in the past? Anybody? Yes or no? Show of hands. Thumbs up, thumbs down if you have that icon. Nope, I don't think we have that icon. But so when someone tells you to remove a program, don't go into the folder and select the application file and hit delete. Do not do that. Doing that doesn't actually remove the program, because for every program that a program, when you are installing it on your computer, may have installed alternate files in different directories. You will only find the executable file here, but you will find it in different directories. What you have to actually do is, there is a particular utility called control panel within Windows. So you have to go there and go to control panel. And when you open up the control panel is like your command center for your computer. And from here, you can find several options. For example, system and security. Let me see what is there. Under system and security, I will see different options. Windows tools, storage, backup and restore, power options, system, Windows Defender, security and maintenance. And on the left hand side, you can see there is another thing called programs. In programs, there will be options that will call view installed, sorry, not view installed updates. When you click programs and features, it will tell you all the applications and apps that are listed, that are installed on your particular computer. Now, if I have to remove video pad, I have to locate video pad, and on the top, I have to click uninstall. That is how I remove programs. So if tomorrow my boss tells me I have to remove the application called Picasa 3, I have to locate Picasa 3 under my control panel, programs and features, click that application and uninstall. Now, you can find it just by searching for it. For example, I can go to my search bar and say uninstall. And it will tell me I will probably find it under control panel. Or I will say remove a program. So, okay, maybe remove a program will not do, but usually uninstall, search for uninstall, and it will tell you, okay, this is something that you can find it in control panel or under settings. So that's essentially a high level navigation of what the Windows desktop is. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to pull up a couple of presentations on Windows, and we'll go through that. And at the end of it, And feel free to ask me if something is not too clear. So I'm going to stop presenting and start the all right. So I had sort of given you like a flyby about a fly through of what the Windows operating system is. Now let's go through the actual material from the Cyber Patriot folks on what Windows Basics is. Now Microsoft Windows Basics, we will go through some history of the operating system and certain terms, and we'll go through officially certain. At the end of it, you'll understand the basics, version history, specific terms and definitions. Then we'll go into advanced options for this particular operating system. Now, everything that we cover in this today's session, after this session, use the rest of the day or maybe tomorrow to sort of explore whatever we learned in today's session. So first of all, let's talk about Windows operating system. So the Windows operating system, Windows was released by this company called Microsoft. Everybody would have heard about Bill Gates and Microsoft. Microsoft initially launched an operating system called MS-DOS in 1981. And the operating system was built on top of MS-DOS initially. So over the years, we had Windows 3.1, which was released in 1992, Windows 95, which came in 1995, the previous century, Windows XP 2001, Windows Vista, Windows 7, Windows 8, Windows 10, and Windows 11. Now, I sometimes forget what version that my current computer has, so let me just check what it is. So I went to search on my computer and typed about, and it's telling me that there is my particular. It is telling me that I'm using Windows 11. So it may be a little bit different from the version that we will see in Cyber Patriot. But I'll show you a quick share on how to find out what version that what version that I am using just by this process. I can go to my taskbar, go to search and type about, and it will bring out this particular icon called about your PC. When I click that, I see my system. It has all the details are given: storage, graphic card, installed RAM, my processor, details about what is the processor. It's a Core i7, product ID, etc. And here, when I go to Windows Update, I can see that I can look at the latest update that is coming. It does says Windows 11 version, but there's actually, if I go to system, Windows specifications. Here you go. So I had to minimize device specifications. In Windows specifications, it will show me what is the version of my Windows. So part of your learning exercise, understand your device specifications, hardware configurations, and what is the version of the software that you have. And it also has other information of, who's the manufacturer, product key, and a whole bunch of other things. So while if you are using a desktop PC right now, can you go look at the Windows version and sort of type it in the chat window? Which version of Windows does your computer has? If you're logging in through some phone or some other device, go look at a Windows PC and share that information that I just showed you. All right, so let me go back to the presentation. So as I said, different versions, Windows 8, 2012, I don't remember when Windows 11 came in. So this is different versions of Windows over the period of years. We need not go into the details of these versions, but just to know that Windows XP is a pretty old operating system, and it had the taskbar, desktop, the icons, as you can see in the small screen over there. And subsequent versions were called Windows Vista. Windows Vista didn't do well. Finally, Windows 7 came out, which was actually one of the better operating systems. It was released in 2009, followed by Windows 8, and all the way up to our current version. Let's do some of the basics that I've already covered. We will go through what Cyber Patriot has to say about Windows basics. So just as I mentioned before, when you open up a computer, like for example, in your Cyber Patriot virtual machine, you will see a desktop similar to that. So you will have a taskbar. Since this is an older version of Windows, it may look different, but the concepts are the same. You will have a start button, which is which is represented by a Windows icon. You will have a search magnifying glass icon that is basically a search. Then you will have a taskbar. Then you have, as I said, I mentioned something called a system tray. They call it a notification area, which is on the rightmost side, where you see the date, the time, and any of those Wi-Fi icons, USB drive, a whole bunch of things you can find, as well as a notification area at the lower right corner. Within the desktop, you will see several icons. There will be one for recycles called the recycle bin, which is nothing but your trash can. There may be icons for your browser and other shortcuts that will be there on your desktop. On any of the Windows or the Ubuntu images that you open, you will have a couple of text files on the desktop called README files. You should also sort of look out for those files. So the desktop, you're clear how it looks. And within the desktop, as I mentioned, the start button may look different. But when you click the start button, essentially it will throw up a bunch of menu options that will show you some of the most recently used programs or files, etc. Every Windows operating system will have that start button. I already spoke about the File Explorer. Another way to refer to it is called the Windows Explorer. And we discussed about the folders and the subfolders where the files are located. Now, a term that we use in almost every computer is we use a term called the file path. The file path is nothing but the path in which we will find a particular file. For example, in this case, the file path for the iTunes application is C /program files /iTunes /iTunes.exe. So your iTunes application is under the iTunes subfolder, which itself lives under program files, which itself lies on the C drive. The initial letter with the two columns is always a drive. Everything after that is a folder. Till you come to a point where is a dot, that is actually a file name. So remember that if there is a dot and an extension, in this case .exe means it's an executable file. It is a file. If there is no extension and there is just some name, then it is most likely a folder. Now I keep talking about hold on, let me think if I have lost it. Now I kept talking about files and extensions. Typically in your computer, if you come across these individual files, you can tell what type of a file it is by looking at the extension, which is the name of the file that comes after the dot. If there is a file that says readme.bat, BAT stands for batch. So it's an executable batch file. Friendly tip: when you find a .bat file or a .exe file, do not double click and try to open it without clearly understanding what does that file do. .bmp is basically an image file that stands for bitmap graphics. .doc is a document file. .docx is a Office 2000 is a more recent document file extension. .exe is an executable. .ppt is a PowerPoint. .xls is a spreadsheet. XLSX is a Excel spreadsheet that is of a more recent format. Now, someone give me an example of an extension for a photograph file that you may have taken on your phone. Typically, what extension is it saved under? Cadet Mitra, question for you. What are the file extensions for a photograph that you take with a phone? Cadet Mitra, are you there? Arya Mitra?
File segments for your phone, sir.
A photograph that you take with the camera. You have taken pictures with your camera, right? With your phone camera.
It needs to be like a Photos app on an iPhone. That's where you store your files from.
Yeah. So Brugman has posted HEIC. So HEIC is an image format. Any other examples of these file formats for extensions? Has anyone seen something with .jpg?
A PNG.
PNG, but usually your phone will save all photographic images as .jpg. iPhone uses .heisa, which is correct. And again, right, if I use a HEIC phone, I need to have a converter. So there are different file formats. For example, I'm sharing some of the download files that I have. .exe is a executable. .ppt PowerPoint. .pdf is a PDF document, portable, I think portable document format or something, but essentially use an Adobe Acrobat reader to open it. .jpg is your your image files. .jpg is another image file. .csv is a data file. It is a comma separated values. It is like a text file. I can open it with the Excel, or I can open it with even with a notepad, and it will give me data stored in a comma separated value format. So there are different file extensions. You should be comfortable with the concept of what is a file name, what is a file extension, what is the file path, etc. So that's at a pretty very high level. This is the Windows basics of Windows operating system. So we have covered what the desktop is, control panel, file paths, file. Now let's jump to the next unit called Windows Security Tools 2021. Windows Security Tools. Now, in this particular chapter, we are going to cover some of the tools and the subsystems within the Windows operating system that we can use to make the system more secure. But before I jump to that, what we'll do is we'll take a 5-minute break. I would suggest that you guys go get hydrate yourself, and also if you are sitting in front of a computer, try and figure out some of the stuff that we just learned. And parents who've been listening to it, I hope You also picked up some of this. Please do practice it with your cadets when you get the time. So I'll be back in about 5 minutes. So we'll go over the next session, which will be advanced Windows tools as being displayed on the screen. So 5 minutes, we'll meet at 4:55.